your host. And today I have an author who has just released 2 books. We will be talking about both of them. He is from Youngsville, Louisiana, and he is here to tell us what is going to be taking place as far as his books, a little bit of insight as to what they are about. Welcome to this show, Greg Fauché.
Thank you, Sudie.
It's been a pleasure meeting you. Met you through the Writer's Guild of Acadiana. And Acadiana, he seems to be a really, really shy guy, but let me tell you what, he knows what he's writing about, and he has some interesting twists and turns in a couple of his books. I've read some of his notes that he shared with me. So this show is going to be about showcasing and featuring his ideas, and he's going to share how it came about. Okay, let's talk about, we have 2 books that are going to be displayed on camera in just a minute. In fact, some people can see a little bit right now. Greg, would you let's talk about the first book that you wanted to talk about, which is A Crown of Jewel, A Crown of Thorns. What motivated you to write this book? Tell us how it came about being written.
Well, actually, 3.5 years ago, I wasn't much of a writer. I like to read books, but I didn't ever consider myself an author. However, I just had this wonderful plot pop up in my head one morning, and it just never disappeared. And so I started taking notes. Then I joined the Writers Guild.
Okay.
And decided to go ahead and write the book. And what they say, if you can build a better mousetrap, then go ahead and build it and see if you can sell it. And I think I've come up with a plot that's truly unique, one that will keep people very interested in the book. In my opinion, it's a page turner. Anyone that wants to read the book, I think, will find that they'll want to finish it pretty quickly because it does capture the reader's interest.
Well, just by the notes and the insight that you shared with me, it definitely even looks like it might be something movie material. People would want to maybe make a show out of it also. So you kind of talked about it being possibly, one of your books. Is this the one that you thought would make a great movie? Or was this your other book we're going to be talking about?
Actually, I think both books would make a great movie.
Okay, that's what I was
really
fishing
do,
for. All right. Well, I have read, like I said, just little inserts and excerpts that you shared with me, and it's very interesting. And coming from my interest of reading, for me to even say that, I think is a compliment because you have to keep the reader interested. And you do have some unique ideas. So let's kind of give them a little insight into how this book came about, your first book that we're going to be talking about. How did it come about as far as the writing? You said you shared a few minutes ago. Okay, so 3.5 years ago you started it?
Right.
Okay, give us some of those steps that you went through to get it actually published, which now it is.
Well, the first thing I did was actually wrote down notes. And believe me, it wasn't a well-organized book when I first got started. I had to write down a lot of thoughts on paper and just collect them in my desk for a while. Eventually, it was put together, and I made a book out of it. I was very fortunate to find a publisher that was out of New York City that was willing to publish my work. And they, too, were very complimentary of the book. But the book is a sci-fi murder mystery. And in the first couple of chapters of the book, it's very action-paced. It doesn't start off like your normal sci-fi book because...
Let's display those books. Go ahead and continue.
It's actually showing 2 pilots in World War II fighting each other, 2 different pilots. One for the Japanese, one for the Americans, fighting each other in the South Pacific, and they both managed to shoot each other down in the water. Later in the book, we find out that those 2 individuals are actually co-founders of a new society on another planet, and that aliens actually abducted and put on a new planet in another galaxy far from Earth.
Okay.
The aliens are trying to figure out if mankind represents a crown of jewels or a crown of thorns.
Okay, now I understand.
There's the name of the title of the book, obviously.
Okay.
I think the alien culture thinks more highly of mankind than I think mankind thinks of itself. They see that we're all miracle creations. Our creativity, our ability to feel feelings from a wide spectrum of feelings is something that's extremely rare in the universe. They know it. I think sometimes we take advantage of it here on Earth, take it for granted. But I think the alien culture, the alien brethren, as mentioned in my book, see that we're really, truly all miracle creations, all of us.
All of us.
So, but they still, what they really ultimately want to do is merge their culture, their technology with mankind, but they don't think mankind can handle the technology. We might end up killing each other with it if they gave it to us right away. So what they do is they create this planet. They don't create the planet. They identify a planet. They take people from planet Earth and they put them on this new planet. And it's basically a utopian environment because they build advanced robotics, androids that assist mankind on that planet. So really, their lifestyle on this new planet is to be envied by everyone on planet Earth.
Well, like I said, I'm listening to what you're saying right now, and it caught my interest, and it's definitely something that if anyone's interested, it's available where?
It's available on Barnes & Noble website, also on Amazon.
Okay, and the name of the book is?
Crown of Jewels, A Crown of Thorns.
Okay, and that's what we want to keep reminding people, should they be interested in it.
Right.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you this question before we go to even trying to start the next book discussion. What, is this the genre that you always wanted to write in? If you wrote, once you decided you wanted to write, do you plan on continuing this type of genre, or do you have other interests? Is it always going to be sci-fi?
I love sci-fi. I like the paranormal.
Okay.
I enjoy. I think there is something beyond what you and I see with the eyes in our head. Okay.
That's right.
I think there is something out there, and I think every once in a while, all people, regardless of their backgrounds, get a little glimpse in their lifetime. We just don't know what it is exactly. But yeah, I like the paranormal. I like to deal with the sci-fi stuff. I'm hoping to write a sequel to Crown of Jewels. I'll see how it goes.
That's exactly why I asked you the question, to see if you were going to continue on telling the story and showing the latest results or the adventures or whatever. How has this writing affected your life, positively or negatively?
It's a positive influence, absolutely. And I encourage other people to go out and write. You know, I was just a regular guy 3 years ago when I started writing. There's nothing magical about me. It's just that, you know, I would go to movies and I'd think, you know, I could predict the plot, I could predict the ending, and I felt like I could do a little better job than what I was seeing on the TV, what I was seeing in the movie theaters. So instead of, you know, complaining about it, I just went ahead and did it. And I think I've written 2 really good books.
Well, to my amazement and surprise, 3 years ago, you casually, very calmly, very meekly mentioned that you were writing a book. And then, lo and behold, the years passed, and all of a sudden you show at this organization, I'm the president of the Writers Guild of Acadiana. So naturally, I'm interested in anything anybody's doing, or if they're there, why are you there? Are you writing? What are you writing? Okay, what are you going to do about it? Maybe someone else can help you. And I think I was kind of picking at you a little at a time when you'd show up, and then one day out of the blue, you showed me this awesome cover of this book, and which is the alien on the book. So that cover goes to which of these stories that you showed me?
A Crown of Jewels.
Okay, I want to be sure that we're getting it. And just the cover tells the story that interests, and I'm understanding from learning a lot from a friend in the publishing business, that cover is what's going to tell the story. Get the people interested in what's inside the book, and then you flip the back of the book, and that's going to get you interested what's inside the book, literally, as a story. And when you showed it to me, I mean, I'm like, I want one. I just wanted one because of the covers, and now that I've read what's inside of the book a little bit, naturally, I would like to be able to have one of those in my collection also, which I failed to tell you that we will make arrangements for that later. So the question was, you know, if it had affected you positively or negative. And I have seen a growth in you to the point where, geez, you just may end up being on the board of our Writers Guild of Acadiana.
Well, I certainly hope so.
You
I would
know,
like that
your
very much.
interest, your passion, you're wanting to make a difference, you're wanting to encourage other people because you were encouraged. That's the reason that we want to support our authors. So we will have to tell Acadiana, stay tuned, because if that happens, I'll be making that announcement on this show. We can't let anything out until it's official, but we will see he is one of the candidates for sure. So backing up, let's go on and explain what's this revenge story that you want to tell?
Boudreaux's Revenge. Actually, I got a couple of kids that kind of helped me put that story together.
All right.
I have one son who swears that he has seen ghosts all of his life. And then I have another son who is very country, likes pickup trucks and guns and likes to hunt and all that. So I've kind of combined those two kids into my book, the way I formulated the plot and everything. But basically, it's a love story intermingled with a lot of paranormal activity.
Yes, I was very interested in that.
But ultimately, my protagonist, Chris Boudreaux, he wants to be the alpha male. He wants to show the ghost that caused him to struggle with his love life, let's say, that it got him really angry one day. So rather than be a victim, he decided to take the initiative and show his ghost that he's no pushover.
Now, I don't want to give anything away that you don't want to give away, but Acadiana, let me tell you something. It didn't quite end in the middle, this guy's plans, but from what I understand, the ending has a really interesting plot to it also.
Oh, yes.
So I'm referring to the part about what he was going to do. He was having his love problems, you know, and that particular, his girlfriend got mad at him.
Oh, yes. Actually, she was a poltergeist experience where she was possessed by a ghost, and she hurt herself. And after that point in time, she didn't want to have any communication with him. And it was also at that same point in time when he realized that the ghost was real. You know, because there was no reason on the face of the earth why his old girlfriend would have ever done that to herself. So he decided to take the matters in his own hand and show some revenge.
Which is why the name of the story is Boudreaux's Revenge.
Yeah. And it's so different from anything you see on the movie screens or on TV. You know, you watch TV these days and you see a paranormal movie and it's the same thing over and over again, in my opinion.
Yes.
Where
yes.
2 o'clock in the morning the ghost comes in and they start to scare people, okay? Here Boudreaux says, you know, I've had enough, and he takes the initiative. And the way he goes about doing it is very creative.
Yes, because I am one of those that used to never watch the paranormal shows, but there was one that was on television that I was monitoring, and it was true. The same old plot, looking, think I see it, think I hear it. There was really no story as to interaction of any other characters other than we're looking for it. Is it there? Can we prove that it was something? This is actually a story giving the person who's reading the book, they're not only getting the thriller, they're getting into the actual action, and they're in the middle of the book. And I'm saying that as I was reading just the writing excerpts that you gave. I'm thinking, wow, he's giving us all the details and good. I mean, it's not like you got to throw the book down. You don't want to put it down, so it is a page turner. I agree, both of them more, and that's what's amazing, because it's been 3.5 years, and you've cranked out 2 books already?
Mm-hmm.
Are you working on a third one at this time?
I'm actually working on the sequel to A Crown of Jewels.
Okay, at this moment. All right, that's good. So in the future, you will be designing a web page so that people can learn more about you, I understand?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
That's next.
That's next. Well, in the meantime, when are you inspired or motivated to write? When do you actually have the time to write? Or do you have any certain set schedules, or when it hits, it hits?
You said it right. When it hits, it hits. The thing about good writers, I believe, is that when they get hit with a novel idea or concept, write it down immediately. Don't think you'll remember it the next day.
That's right.
Just put it on paper right then and there, throw it in your desk, put it in a file, but don't procrastinate and not do it.
Yes, and I totally agree with you that you just never know. One day out of the blue, somebody else may pick up those notes and publish that book for you.
That's right.
And that's exactly what's happening in these days, even for myself right now. And so that's what I had shared with you prior to the show. I had written 5 stories. One was published, not printed. There's a big difference between printed and published. Published means that you're going to get all the open doors to help people know where your book is and what's going on, and if they're interested, how to get more information, and go to the locations if needed, wherever in the future is announced. Whereas printing is just print it up, and here's your books, and you're on your own. It's a lot I've learned this year. And so I say that to say this, is that many years ago, timing is important. I did publish one book, but then sickness in the family stopped me from being able to market it, which is very important. Okay, so other stories were written, and I just put them up and shelved them and said one day, maybe if I couldn't do it, somebody in the family would do it. And that was like 1989. And here it is, 2015, and it's happening for me just out of the blue. All of a sudden, all those stories that were shelved are being ready to hit the shelves this weekend, actually. So I'm excited. It's never too late. Now, you're always in the organization. Write it down. It's never too late. Doesn't have to be perfect. A lot of people think you got to have it all together when you first write it down. That's the reason for writing notes. In editing, you can do it yourself and get it in order, but then when it's ready for the real big-time publishing, then you get someone to check your editing. And before you know it, you have a published book, and you learn all the resources. Now with you, what resources do you really and truly trust, I guess is the word? Like which resources, how did you go about choosing New York to publish a book? That would be a good question.
Well,
Did you do some research?
Well, I did a little research, and I reviewed their contract before I sent them any money.
Oh, right, okay.
And I wanted to make sure that I was getting a fair deal. I felt like the book was quality enough that I could go to a lot of different places. And I actually went to some other places that wanted to do my book, but I chose Page Publishing because they seem to be the type of organization that would pick up the phone when I called, get a real live person when you need to talk to someone.
Huh?
So I chose them, and I haven't been disappointed.
You have not been disappointed.
I have not been disappointed.
That's the most important thing that you just said, Greg, because a lot of people, have written. I'm speaking from experience of myself that I learned that first publishing was I learned. But as the president of the Writers Guild, I've really taken it on myself to do more research because I don't want to mislead anybody. And I sure don't want people being taken advantage of. And I encourage them, like you just said, get the information. Be sure you ask the questions if you're going to be getting what you are wanting done for your book from the very first step, from editing down to, your title of your book, whatever, your cover, front and back. Because I hate to say this, but there are some people that have been taken advantage of, and a lot of money has been wasted, and their trust has been broken. So trust, good quality work, is very important for the upcoming author.
And I think that's an important point too, Sudi. People out in your audience may not realize how much time, effort, and money that we put out to get these books published. It's not like the old days where a publisher would say, hey, here's your book, I like it. We'll mass market it for you and pay for everything and give you a check at the boot. Only a small percentage of books today published are actually fitting that mold.
Unfortunately, that is the truth because of the fact that the new authors that have come to me recently that just got inspired or motivated to write their books, that's what they thought. Oh, man, I can't believe it. I've had it on here for a year. It hasn't sold anything. I mean, it's a good story. I say, yeah, I know you wrote it, but you got to market it. These days, it's nothing free. You have to get out there and you have to tell people and you have to share. And it's heartbreaking if they've been taken down the wrong path. So my goal is, that's why this show's created, is to let Acadiana know that we have authors here, we have musicians, we have chefs. We want to tell you what they're doing, and then it's up to you if you want to check out or you want to get more information. And so on our show today, we have Greg Fauché, here we go, get that going. And he is an author, and he's from Youngsville, and he has 2 books that we are out here talking about today. They're both sci-fi, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So is there anything that you'd like to bring up about your book? Like if you could describe your first book in one sentence, what would you say? A crown of jewel, a crown of thorns.
if that is ever made into a movie, it's going to benefit mankind overall. I might even win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, I like that
I mean, I'm just
kind of
telling you,
thinking.
it makes you think, what are we?
I love it. I do love it. Love that idea. Okay, and so Boudreaux's Revenge. If you had to say one sentence, what would you do to captivate?
I've had a few Cajun friends, and I just love the fact that they're the great, in my opinion, some of the greatest people on the face of the earth, but they do have a tendency, the ones that I've met, to, once you cross them, you know, they don't forget very easily, and they do have a way of showing retribution, and that's why I chose Boudreaux as my main character, the protagonist in my novel.
Well, I totally agree with you, since I'm not originally from here, but I have learned that lesson. You don't cross the Cajun, because they'll love you and give you everything, and just ask them.
Right.
Ask them. Don't take it from them, and just ask them. So therefore, it's a good synopsis. So you already kind of shared with us, why you named both of your books and the reason for writing your books. Has anyone really given you any feedback? Like, who have you shared this with so far, and how been the comments?
Actually, I've gotten some nice compliments. I've gotten 5-star ratings from both Barnes & Noble and also Amazon.
That's awesome.
And they're strangers. I don't know who these people are, but I was very impressed,
Well, that's great. That's a good
So-
plus, saying that right there. Well, I think we have maybe almost 5 minutes, maybe 4 minutes left in the show, so we want to be sure to cover anything that maybe we haven't talked about. So, you're from the Youngsville area. Are you still in the workforce? Are you retired?
I'm retired, and I have a daughter that's about to go to college. She's living with me, and I just recently retired, just a couple of years ago, back when I started writing, actually.
And your background? What did you retire from, if you don't mind?
I've been a human resources manager for a Fortune 50 company. I was also in the mortgage business, and I've also worked for banks before.
This is amazing. This is amazing, Greg. The people who are now joining the Writers Guild have backgrounds like yours, and it's amazing that each one has a story and each one is writing books, and it's amazing it's come out of totally opposite of what they're doing and done for life, as far as their livelihood. It's amazing. Like, we have some lawyers, they're become comedians and everything else, and so at this particular time now, we're getting into 3 minutes at the end of the show, and so the different characters.
I personally believe we're all multifaceted. I think we have a lot of gifts, a lot of talents. All of us have many talents. It's just a question of what degree those talents are. But I think it's good.
So why did you show up at the Writers Guild of Acadiana, and how did you find out about us?
Well, actually,
How did we get so lucky? Go ahead, finish.
I'm not sure if you're going to like my response, but the truth is I just walked into Barnes & Noble one night. And
Were you one of those just happened to go sit
just
down?
happened to walk by.
No accident?
No, and then I sat down and listened to it for a while and liked what I was saying. And at that point in time, I had the idea of Crown Jewel in my back of my head. And when I saw other people working towards a goal,
Isn't that awesome?
I felt like I didn't feel all alone anymore. So,
And that's what it's all about. When I first became the president of the Writers Guild, boy, I was gung-ho. Everybody was going to be a writer. Boy, I was going to do everything. I was wanting to make sure you got what you needed. If I couldn't answer it, I'd make sure. But the whole real purpose is to be real. And some come just to listen to the good stories, and all of a sudden they get motivated, and before you know it, they are writing. And that's what it's all about. It's a gathering of like-minded people, whether you want to just listen to the shows, and what's the stories being told, or whether or not you are just needing a little motivation. And just recently, we did have a retired dentist, I believe it is, that's been writing funny stories for children, and he got motivated and to do something on his own that he thought he had to have someone else do it for him. And in the long run, he learned that he could do his own ebook with a little guidance, and he gives us credit. So if we have done anything that's motivated you, I want to thank you for sharing it on our show. We're at the end of the show now, so I want to tell the audience, thank you so much for tuning in, and tune in every Monday night at 9 o'clock. It just might be you or Greg that we're showcasing. If you have a story, or you have a project, or you just have a dream, this is the showcase that would love to tell your story. Until then, 9 o'clock every Tuesday night. Okay, used to be, now it's on Mondays, so sometimes they do work us around. But until then, here we are, and you be blessed. And this is Greg, and he's from Youngsville. Be sure to check his books out. He has two.